Hey guys, I just want to recommend that anyone who's not familiar with the Phablicator program commands or the disable switches on the front of the Phablicator clicks the link on the screen here and watches this short video first about those two things. Hey, this is Matt with Phablicator, and today I'm going to take you through the process of fine-tuning the print bed on your FM1 3D printer. To do this, you're going to need a bright colored PLA filament. I'm going to use red throughout this video. Now, this isn't something that you have to do often at all, and it's more so something that you should be doing when you notice that your prints could be coming out a little bit off. And the place that this is going to show the most is in the very first layer of your print. And on this first layer, you're going to have one of two issues. You could either have a nozzle that is too far away, and you'll get a first layer that looks like this with the bed showing through the passes of the nozzle. And then when you go to scrape it up from the bed, you can see that the layer does not stick together as one solid piece at all. Or you could have a nozzle that is too close to the bed, in which case you'll get a first layer that looks like this, where you can see that it's very rigid, and when you go to peel it up from the bed, it may be a little bit tougher to get it off than it would normally be. And of course, what you really want is something a bit more like this, where it's just one flat, solid piece. So those are the two possible problems that you're going to find on the first layer of your prints. From here, I'm going to take you through the process of fine-tuning your bed. We'll do this by running through a calibration print with your PLA filament, and then we'll adjust the bed based on the results of that. So the first thing that we'll need to do is actually move that calibration print file to your desktop. So if you go down to the Start menu, you can come up to Computer and click on that. And on the left-hand side under Libraries, you'll find a folder called 3D Printing. Click into there. And within there, there's a folder called Calibration. You can double-click on that. In this folder, there's a G-code file known as Bed Flatness Calibration Plate Small. You can right-click on that, go down to Copy, then go over to your desktop, right-click, and go down to Paste. The first thing you'll want to do is apply the ABS solution to your bed so that your print will stick to the bed. You want to make sure you cover all four corners of the bed because the print will cover each one. And then you can load your PLA filament onto the spool holder, and you'll want to engage the E-disable switch so that the filament driver is disabled. And this allows you to push the filament down into the nozzle by hand. After that, you'll want to turn off the E-disable switch. Then on your computer, you can double-click on the bed flatness calibration plate file that we moved there in the beginning of the video. And then you can hit print, and your first print will start. Now we'll take a look at the print and see how it came out. At this point in the video, what we really want is for the four corners of the bed to be about even with one another, kind of ignoring the center for now, which we'll adjust for later. And here is where you want the four corners to be. This will be the result when the nozzle is at an ideal distance from the bed. Here's what you might have if the nozzle is still a bit too far away from the bed, with the bed showing through the passes of the nozzle there. And this is what you'll have if the nozzle is too close to the bed on that corner. And if you were to run your finger across that, you could actually feel the ridges. And of course you could have a square where the nozzle is much too close to the bed, and you can see it actually restricted filament from being extruded out of the nozzle in some parts of that square. And if you tried to actually peel that up from the bed, it might be very difficult, and you can see how thin it is in some parts of the square there. And again, here's the ideal outcome, and this is what we are hoping for on all four corners of the bed by the time we're done adjusting. And now you can start adjusting based on how the calibration squares look for your printer. You don't have to turn the screw too far to make a noticeable change. It's best to start out with small changes to get the feel of the process so you don't overdo it. I like to use the 4 notches of the screw head as a guide for how much I'm turning each screw. And once you're happy with the changes you've made, you can peel off the calibration squares with your razor, reapply the ABS solution to the bed, and then you can try the print over again and see how it comes out the second time. And you'll want to go through this a couple more times until you have the 4 corners of the bed about equal with one another. In the next section, we'll adjust for the center of the bed, and then you'll be finished the process of leveling the bed on your FM1 printer. At this point in the video, it's assumed that you have the 4 corners about equal with one another, and at this point we're going to adjust your bed for the center. It's sometimes necessary to squash the 4 corners just a little bit more than you might want in order to get the center to the ideal point. So here we have my bed after I got the 4 corners leveled. Going around clockwise, you can see that the 4 corners are all just about equal. But then once we get around to the center, you can see that it still has the space between the passes of the nozzle where you can see the black of the bed through it. And also when you peel it up with the razor blade, it does not stay in one solid piece. Instead pulls apart like an accordion like that. And what you really want is for it to be a little bit more like this square here, which is one solid square. It doesn't pull apart very easily. So what I'm going to do is go around again clockwise on the bed, and I'm going to raise the bed at each corner about the same amount. Again, I use the screw head notches as a guide, and here I'm making about an 1/8 turn on each screw. Bring the bed up towards the nozzle. And after you do that, you'll want to try your printout again, and you may have to adjust another time or two, and you'll want to continue doing that process until the center of your bed is at the ideal point. Okay, now here we have my bed after I've adjusted for the center. Going around clockwise, you can see that the 4 corners are a little bit more smashed than the ideal position. But that's okay because the center now looks like this. And since that's where all the printing takes place, that's exactly what you want. Now the last thing that I would do here is try a small printout on the bed and just check it out when it's done and see how it came out. On the desktop of your FM1 came a folder called Sample STL Files, and in there's a folder called Artistic Samples, and a file in there called Octopus. I like to take the same PLA filament that I leveled the bed with and just try out this octopus print on the bed after I level it, and just see how it comes out. Maybe take a close look at it when it's done. Now, if there's any glaring errors in there, you're going to see it in your print. But more than likely, I'm sure you did a good job and the octopus will come out just fine. If there are any more questions or comments you want to make about the video, feel free to leave them below. And thanks for watching.